The Cave of Echoing Souls wasn't a passage to death, it was a gateway to somewhere else. The moment Prince Bantugan stepped through its shadowy entrance, the world he knew warped and dissolved. The rustle of the wind, the distant sounds of his people, the rich scent of soil and flowers, all of it vanished, replaced by a deep and heavy silence. He found himself standing on the gray shore, a place he had only visited in dreams. Before him lay a sea of still, silver water, under a sky trapped in an eternal twilight. There was no sun, no moon, just a soft, sourceless light. The air was cool and carried no scent, but it pressed upon him, not on his body, but on his very soul. It was the feeling of being watched by the landscape itself. And there, waiting for him, was the guardian. It was a figure that was neither man nor woman, radiating a calm yet imposing power. Its form seemed woven from mist and gray light, sometimes solid, sometimes transparent. Its face held the deep serenity of ages, with eyes like pools of dark water that reflected nothing, yet seemed to see everything. This was Tuan Putli, the keeper of the threshold, the judge of the passage. The guardian's voice wasn't a sound, but a thought that formed directly inside Bantugan's mind. It was quiet, yet as inevitable as the turning of the tide. Prince of the twice lived, the thought came. You have walked a path, none may walk without consequence. You are a word spoken out of turn, in the great story. Why have you come to the place your spirit already fled? Bantugan, feeling the immense presence before him, did not fall to his knees. Instead, he bowed his head in profound respect. He held up his hands, showing the simple things he had brought, a vial of river water, a small pouch of soil, and a single lock of his beloved's hair. I have come to settle the debt my love created, he said, his voice firm in the silent realm. I returned to protect my home, but in doing so, I have made it a target. The shadows are gathering at the door, I left ajar. I asked for terms. How can the balance be restored? Tuan Putli's gaze fell upon the tokens in his hands. A ripple went through the gray mist. These are your ties, the guardian's thought echoed. They are what pulled you back from the beyond. But the debt is not a material one, it is a debt of order. A life was concluded. Its thread was cut from the loom of existence. You have tied it back with a knot of sheer will. And that knot creates a tension. It pulls at all the other threads. The guardian gestured, and the mists around them swirled, showing Bantugan visions. He saw the beautiful, sad spirits of the drowned ones, their underwater coral kingdom growing dim as they desperately reached for the memory of the sun. He saw the predatory hunger of the Aswang clans, drawn to the scent of his unnatural life like sharks to blood in the water. And then he saw his home, Bantugan, not as it was, but as it could become, a place where the line between day and nightmare blurred, where every shadow held a whispering creature, and where his people would live in a state of constant, weary fear. The imbalance you created is a doorway, Tuan Putli explained. It cannot simply be closed, because a life has already passed through it backwards. So it must be transformed. It must be made intentional. The debt is not paid with a life, but with a purpose. What purpose? Bantugan asked, his spirit unwavering. You have become a bridge between worlds. The guardian replied, so, you shall be a bridge. Not a passive one that any hungry spirit can cross, but an active guardian of the passage. Your debt is to manage the very threshold you have violated. The terms of the pact then unfolded in Bantugan's mind, not as a list of rules, but as a deep, profound understanding. First, there was the vigil. Once every lunar cycle, during the darkest hour of the night, Bantugan would have to return to a thin place like this cave-on stand vigil. In this state, his spirit would be perceptible to the peaceful dead, the lost, and the forgotten, like the drowned ones. He would hear their petitions, their sorrows, and their unfulfilled wishes. Next came the judgment. It would be his sacred duty as the one who defied the natural order, to decide which spirits could be granted a brief moment of connection with the living world, a soft whisper to a descendant, a comforting dream, to a loved one, a sign of peace. He would also have to gently turn back those whose time was truly over, severing their ties for good. He would be the filter, protecting the living from the overwhelming noise of the dead. Then, there was the warding. His very presence, now regularized by this pact, would become a ward against malicious spirits. The Aswang and their kind, who feed on chaos, would find no entry near him. His existence would calm the unseen world around Bantugan, turning it from a beacon of disorder into a sanctuary of balanced order. Finally, there was the price. He would forever be a part of two worlds. The coldness in his chest would remain. The distant, knowing look in his eyes would never fully fade. He would carry the weight of all the sorrows he heard during his vigil, and when his natural life finally came to an end, his spirit would not pass into the peaceful fields of the ancestors. Instead, he would stand beside Tuan Putli as a fellow guardian of the threshold. For all of time, Bantugan absorbed the terms. This was not a punishment, it was a monumental responsibility. It meant his days of heroism were not over. They were simply transformed from the bright flash of a sword in battle to the long, quiet vigilance of a sentinel. He would protect Bantugan not just from invading armies, but from the slow erosion of the unseen world. And my people, he asked, will they be safe? Will the shadows finally retreat? If you accept these terms, Tuan Putli's thought confirmed. The doorway becomes a gate, and a gate has a gatekeeper. The chaos will subside. The drowned ones will have their audience through you, not their invasions. The malevolent spirits will find your land under a new and powerful protection extended from this side of the veil. Bantugan looked down at the tokens in his hands. The water of life, the soil of his home, the hair of his love. He now saw they were not chains binding him to the past, but anchors for his new purpose. He wasn't losing his life, he was being given a much larger one. I accept, he said, and the words echoed across the gray shore, a solemn and unbreakable vow. I will be the bridge. I will be the guardian of the threshold. Tuan Putli nodded. For the first time, something like approval or perhaps relief softened the guardian's timeless features. A hand made of condensed twilight extended towards Bantugan. Then take the mark of the pact, not as a brand, but as a key. The touch was cold, electric. On Bantugan's chest, directly over his heart, a subtle silver symbol shimmered into existence. It was an elegant glyph resembling a closed eye, or perhaps a calm sea under a crescent moon. It pulsed once with a soft light, then faded from sight, though Bantugan knew it was now a part of him forever. Go, the guardian said. Your vigil begins with the next dark moon. Your kingdom awaits its prince, who is now also its sentinel against the silent realms. The gray shore dissolved around him. Bantugan took a single step and found himself not at the mouth of the cave, but back in the royal garden of Bumran. The sun was warm on his skin, and the scent of flowers was real and vibrant. In the world of the living, only a single heartbeat had passed. Dadimbang was there, as if drawn by some unseen instinct. She saw him, and she noticed the new depth in his storm-gray eyes. She saw the faint, silvery symbol just visible at his collar. She didn't ask if he was all right. She simply took his cool hand in hers and felt a new, steady certainty in his touch. It is settled, he said, his voice calm. I am home, and I have brought peace with me, a peace that will hold, in both worlds. That night, for the first time since his miraculous return, no one in Bumbaran had nightmares. The air itself felt clearer, and the shadows were just shadows again. The weeping Sigbin were gone. The unsettling feeling of being watched had finally lifted. Prince Bantugan stood on his balcony, looking out over his sleeping kingdom. He felt a new weight on his soul, the cool symbol on his chest, and the vast, quiet responsibility that was now his. He was no longer just a warrior prince. He was the keeper of the threshold, the bridge between worlds. And his greatest epic, the long, quiet vigil of balance, had just begun. Thank you for watching this episode of the story of Prince Bantugan. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, comment, and subscribe Studio Einstein for more tales from this incredible epic. We'll see you in the next chapter. In the grand relativity of time, our paths will cross again, and I'll see you next time.